Good afternoon. So I want you to picture something for me. You wake up on a brisk fall morning, the sun shining through your window. You take a deep breath, you yawn, you think, wow, today is going to be a wonderful day. Hartley, your Siberian Husky, jumps on your bed to say good morning. You get out of bed and walk out of your bedroom door to go get your usual morning coffee, and then you see it. There are mounds of white, snowy pillow fluff everywhere. Hartley, knowing she's guilty, runs and hides in the corner. With no time to chase after her, you begin cleaning up the mess. Suddenly, your relaxed morning routine becomes rushed, and you're hustling just to get out of the door on time. This situation is a common occurrence when you are a pet owner, and more specifically, a Siberian Husky owner. Siberian Huskies, like any pet, have their own set of challenges and benefits. Today, I would like to talk to you about the responsibilities of owning and caring for a Husky. I know from experience, since I have one, that they can be a lot of work. So there are 3 things that one should think about and consider before deciding to pick a Husky as their family dog. The first one is, will this Husky fit my lifestyle? The second is considering the physical and emotional needs of the Husky breed. And the third is training and care specific to the Siberian Husky. So first, will the Husky fit my lifestyle? This is a huge and probably one of the most important questions you can ask when you're picking a dog breed. The one thing that you have to consider before anything is, can I afford this? Huskies can cost anywhere from $500 to upwards of $2,000. That is a large sum of money to put out on an animal, if you would think about it that way. But obviously a dog is a man's best friend, so I think it's worth it. We personally spent $650 on our dog, and she's AKC registered, and she's a really healthy bloodline. The second is that Huskies need to be walked regularly, and they have a lot of energy. If their energy is not put out in the right way, such as being able to run or being able to play with other animals, they get very destructive, which is a very common aspect of their breed. So you have to make sure that you don't have anything that a dog could eat or tear apart or anything important, because they will find it. And if you don't think that they can chew it up, they can find a way. So another thing you have to make sure is that if you get a dog, any dog, not just a Husky, you have to make sure that your city doesn't require permits. Our city does require a permit if you have an animal, and those also cost money. And if you live in an apartment, you have to make sure that the breed is allowed and that the dog doesn't outweigh the weight limit. Huskies are generally 35 to 50 pounds, which is a medium-sized dog, so they're usually going to be allowed. Also, a well-known thing about the Husky is that they're snow dogs. So, cold weather. Most of us don't live in Alaska where it's really cold, so you have to make sure you have a cool place for your dog when it's hot outside. But you don't have to worry too much if you live in a really cold place, because Huskies can survive temperatures of up to negative 75 degrees Fahrenheit, which is cold. They're also very attached. They get very attached easily. They tend to have a lot of separation anxiety about being in cars if they don't like it, being in the dark, being in unfamiliar places around unfamiliar people. So you have to make sure you're going to have enough time to get your dog socialized as well. And if you're looking for a watchdog, that's not a Husky. A lot of people think they look mean because their eyes are generally the color of them, makes them look a little scary, but they are lovers. They don't bark, and if they do, it's because they want to play. So don't get a Husky if you need a watchdog. They also shed a lot, so you have to make sure you have time for that. I'll get into that a little bit later. And if you buy a dog from a breeder, some of them require you to have them spayed or neutered within 1 year, which is part of the contract that you sign when you get the dog. So that's just more money. And one of the big things that should deter you from getting a Husky is that they don't do well with other small animals, including cats. Even if they were raised with the cat from when they were a puppy, it's in their breed to, unfortunately, attack small things. So you have to make sure that you're either very supervised or they're not alone together, because it's a really big deal. And personally, our dog has already killed one of our parents' chickens. So you have to be very careful. So the second thing you have to make sure is that you have enough time, energy, and money for their physical and emotional needs. I already touched on a few of them, but I'll get into it a little bit more in detail. A great thing about Huskies is they need less food than most other breeds. I don't know why, but generally, if you We only put about 1 cup of food out in the morning and then 1 cup at night, and it has to be a good high protein food for them to only eat this little, and she's totally fine. And she is good in self-control, so we don't have to feed her. We leave her on an all-day feeder, and she just eats when she's hungry. We don't have to worry about eating all the time. Another thing is that Huskies have vitamin deficiencies and can also have hip dysplasia, and I'll discuss those later as well. A lot of books that you read may recommend that you brush your Husky's hair every day, and it helps a lot with the shedding, but Huskies are also very well known for being very self-reliant on themselves to take control of their own personal hygiene. So you don't have to worry about that too much. They have 2 layers of fur. They have the inner coat and then the outer coat, and the dirt is generally just brushed off because of the 2 layers of fur. So it's not something you have to worry about a whole lot. But back to the shedding, they blow their coats twice a year, which means massive amounts of shedding, and it is everywhere. And you think you clean it up and you find some more, and then right when you clean it up, it's everywhere. So that's something that you definitely have to think about, because I know there's some breeds that don't shed, and if I had to go back, I'd probably get a dog that didn't shed. So that's a really big deal. And you have to have a big lifestyle change, because it allows a lot of cleaning time, and you have dog hair on your clothes, even if you don't want to. So I did say a little bit about them being anxiety prone. So that's definitely a huge thing, because the anxiety and stress that they can put on themselves can cause some health problems, such as, obesity or anorexia. Like, they won't eat when you're gone, or then they'll eat too much when you're home. And then, the energy that they build up, they'll do damage, and they chew on everything. And it can also clog their anal glands, which sounds gross, and it is gross, and it doesn't smell good either. And it costs a lot of money to take care of all the time. So another great thing about them is that they love to be around other dogs and play with them. So it's awesome, because you don't ever have to worry about them attacking another dog, because they love everybody and everything. So that's really awesome. They love attention. And then there's some general things that you just always have to think about when you have a dog, such as just their general oral hygiene, exercise, eye health, their butt health, because they have sensitive stomachs, and hip health. It's not a huge problem with the Huskies, but I'll get into that a little bit later. And then just their coat and skin health, because they have some vitamin deficiencies, which I mentioned and I'll get into. So hip dysplasia is an abnormal growth and fusion of the joint and muscle, causing abnormal movement and pain for the dog. You can usually notice it before 1 year of age, and it's not a huge problem in Huskies, but it is a problem. So you have to make sure you check their genetic lines when you're purchasing a Husky, because it is a genetic disorder. So if you check their lines and there's not hip dysplasia, then you're usually fine. But if you want to be extra preventative, then you can feed them a high protein food, which can kind of help prevent it. But if it's genetic, it's going to happen anyway. So it just helps with general bone and joint formation. The main problem that you have with Huskies is eye problems. They have cataracts, corneal dystrophy, and retinal atrophy, which is more common in the Huskies that have 2 different colored eyes. If you catch it early, then it can usually be treated and won't be a problem, but there are a few that cause permanent blindness, and they're usually not caught late caught early because there's no signs and symptoms. So that's one of the big things with Huskies. Another thing with Huskies is that they have a zinc deficiency. So their body doesn't make enough zinc to help the other enzymes with their coat. So this can cause zinc-responsive dermatitis, which can become infected. So it's these little red bumps they get all over their body. It looks like a bug bite. They're constantly licking them. They bleed a little bit, and it's really gross, unfortunately, and it looks really uncomfortable for the dog. So it can be easily treated, which is a great thing. So you just have to give them adult zinc supplements every day, and they'll be good. And if it's infected, then they just need a short course of antibiotics. Another thing with Huskies is they're very stubborn. Very stubborn. They will talk back to you if you tell them to do something they don't want to do, and they will just ignore you. So you definitely have to be the boss, and you have to be the pack leader so they know who's in charge. Because if they don't want to listen to you, they won't. And this can also cause them to be mischievous and even more destructive than they would be if you were very stern with them. They can be very difficult to housebreak for that very reason. So that's another thing that needs to be considered. If your dog has anxiety problems and problems with the potty training, crate training is a great way to help with both of them. I won't get into that, but it's a huge help for the anxiety and the potty training. Another thing is Huskies are pack dogs, so they love to have a companion. So it's great if you have another dog at home or if you have kids, because they just love to play with people and feel like they're a part of a pack. So that's a huge thing with the Huskies. So it sounded like I got into a lot of the negatives, except owning our Husky Hartley has been one of the best things that we've ever done. She was a little on the expensive side and a lot of work, but she has a really, really great personality, and she feels like she's a human, and she does talk back. They bark at you, they make these weird dog noises, you have no idea where they come from, and she's just a really smart animal. So owning a dog of the Siberian Husky breed requires research, preparation, and a lot of responsibility. They require special attention to their physical and emotional needs, and they can come with possible health risks that other dogs may not. I'd like to finish with a quote from Dave Barry. "Dogs are not our whole life, but they make our lives whole." Thank you.